Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 5:30.
Flags in North Dakota, Minnesota, and across the nation are lowered to half-staff to pay respect to the victims in the Paris terrorist attacks. But as many governors order flags lowered, they're also taking a stand against accepting Syrian refugees. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. 20 governors say they will not accept Syrian refugees. This comes after Paris authorities revealed that one of the terrorist suspects entered Europe among a group of Syrian refugees. In September, the Obama administration announced that 10,000 Syrians will be allowed to enter the United States next year. Valley News Team's Ashley Bishop has been looking into what the governors of Minnesota and North Dakota will do. Ashley?
Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton said Syrian refugees can come to Minnesota as long as they go through the highest level of security checks. Dayton said he was assured by the White House that any person coming into the United States will go through those checks. As for North Dakota Governor Jack Dalrymple, he said in a statement that he consulted with Lutheran Social Services of North Dakota. LSS informed his office that they do not place Syrian refugees in the state and do not expect to resettle them here in the future. He did not directly say if he would object if they were placed here in the state. So far, about 20 states will not accept Syrian refugees and 7 will. On this map, you can see in red the states that will not, including Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana. In green, you can see the 7 states that will accept Syrian refugees, including Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and Hawaii. You can see North Dakota has a question mark because Governor Dalrymple did not directly answer if he was for or against Syrian refugees. Today, we asked people in the Fargo area if Syrian refugees should be turned away from North Dakota and Minnesota.
I think it's a little bit silly. They're painting a pretty broad brush amongst all these people. I mean, if any of us lived in that type of situation, we would probably be looking for anybody nice to, get us away from that.
I can see where they're coming from, definitely, but at the same time, I do believe that is ignorance, and we just need to figure out a balance between the two.
Many of the governors that closed their borders to Syrian refugees say it is because of safety. They want better security and screening procedures from the federal government.
All right, thank you, Ashley. And to see the full map and list of states, click on this story at valleynewslive.com. The suspect in a murder that happened earlier this morning in Bismarck has been found dead in Dunn County. The body of 35-year-old Kirk Kwasniewski was located near the entrance to the Little Missouri State Park, north of Killdeer. Police tracked his cell phone after he called 911 and hung up. Police say he appears to have died by suicide. The search started early this morning when a woman called police saying that she found her boyfriend dead and that Kwasniewski was in her home, threatening her with a gun. He was gone by the time officers arrived. The victim in the murder has been identified as 30-year-old Kane Fisher of Bismarck. An autopsy is planned for tomorrow, and the case is currently under investigation. It's been a wet and somewhat dreary day, and it doesn't look like it's going to get much better in the near future. Let's get the latest on our weather tonight from Robert.
Yeah, breezy conditions will continue. Some drizzle, a little bit of mist, even some patchy fog across the region, and along with that, lots of cloudiness, but we're still seeing some mild temperatures, and those will be going by the wayside as we head through the next 24 to 48 hours. Current temperatures right now, a mix of some 40s and some 50s. Normal high today in Fargo, upper 30s, so we're still well above where we should be at this time of year. 52 right now in Fargo, also 52 in the Crookston area. 54 down in Assistant. Cloud cover, we've got it. We're going to continue to see it as we head through the overnight hours and actually through much of the next several days for most of the region. Underneath those clouds, the drizzle, the mist, the very light sprinkles, too light for the radar to pick up, but that will be changing as we head through tomorrow morning. As we head through the rest of this evening here in Fargo, expect more of what we've got. Steady temperatures to slowly falling temperatures, some breezy south to southeast winds, 10 to 20 miles per hour with some occasional stronger gusts and maybe a few sprinkles, a little bit of mist, and maybe some patchy fog. Big changes as we head through the next several days, and we'll detail those changes coming up in just a few minutes.
Seems like quite a change from the weekend, right?
Oh, yeah. Let's just say you're going to need some more clothes as we head through the latter parts of the week.
All right. Thanks, Robert. Yep. The University of Minnesota student government has voted to no longer recognize 9/11 anniversaries. The decision was made by the Minnesota Student Association, saying it could potentially violate students' safe space. Organization officials have since posted about their decision on their Facebook page, saying they want to clear up any misconceptions about this. They say the meeting addressed Islamophobia, in addition to how a moment of recognition could be implemented on a large college campus. The post also says that some members had voiced their support for holding a moment of recognition for the 9/11 victims, but due to the lack of what they call action steps, they didn't know how to implement it. To read the full post, head to valleynewslive.com and click on this story. Terror in France has leaders around the world scrambling for answers and ideas on how to proceed. Intelligence officials think another attack on France is possible, and threats of an attack on the United States have lawmakers in Washington on high alert. Our Washington bureau's Peter Zampa has more from Capitol Hill.
Many fear the terror will continue, but President Obama says he doesn't plan to change his strategy. Both he and French President Francois Hollande spoke earlier today, Obama in front of the G20 summit in Turkey and Hollande in front of an emotional French parliament.
Hollande says his country is at war after 129 people were killed in the Paris attacks Friday night. In a recently released ISIS propaganda video, a militant vows harm upon America's stronghold, Washington, D.C. There have been talks of intensifying the conflict and sending U.S. troops to fight the Islamic State, a move President Obama says he and his administration have thought about.
It is not just my view, but the view of my closest military and civilian advisors, that would be a mistake.
As ISIS threats continue, the Syrian refugee discussion is front and center on Capitol Hill.
It's a very difficult time, if not impossible, to vet them. I would point out it would only take 1 out of 1,000, or 6,000 for that matter, that could do great damage.
President Obama says it will not be enough to simply beat the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq. The terror has spread well beyond their borders.
Here in Antalya, our nation's therefore committed to strengthening border controls, sharing more information, and stepping up our efforts to prevent the flow of foreign fighters in and out of Syria and Iraq.
In Washington, Peter Zampa, Valley News Live.
There are enhanced security patrols on Capitol Hill today, but Capitol Police tell our D.C. Bureau that this is simply an abundance of caution, that there's no known threat to the Capitol complex. People in West Fargo will be going to the polls tomorrow to vote on a $98.1 million referendum for the school district. The district is looking to build 2 new elementary schools, an addition to West Fargo High School, and build a new hockey rink and swimming pool. A yes vote will not increase school property taxes, according to the school district. Owners of a $150,000 home would see their property tax responsibility continue to be about $200 a year. However, a no vote means that a homeowner's taxes would drop over time because of various levies expiring. Voting for a new UND nickname ends at midnight tonight, and the winner of the 2 remaining choices, Fighting Hawks or Rough Riders, will be announced this week. However, it could take months before the new nickname and logo will actually be put into use. UND officials say the full use of the nickname will happen when a visual identity is developed to go along with that nickname, and the process of developing a new logo could take months.
We anticipate that the process of logo development will take several months, and we plan to have more information about how that process will work when we announce the new nickname.
There's no definitive word yet on whether the results of this vote will be released tomorrow or Wednesday. An ice rink shortage in the area has hockey parents fed up and frustrated. Back in 2013, Valley News Live reported that there would not be enough ice rinks to deal with the area's population boom. Tonight on Valley News Live 10 at 10, Christine Stanwood explains how the lack of ice has affected families and what's being done about it. It's a sure sign of the approaching holiday season. The Salvation Army bell ringers are back. They started at 10 this morning with a special holiday music salute from the NDSU Brass Quintet. And the goal this year is to again raise some big money, $896,000. That's $24,000 more than was raised last year. Here are some numbers that help tell the story of the bell ringers. They're at 34 locations in the metro area, and they work 10 hours a day. They'll be manning the kettles and bells 6 days a week for 34 days. And the campaign wraps up December 24th at 2 p.m. There's only one more Monday where Valley News Team's Christy Larson will be working drive-thrus in the area. Next Monday, you could get your breakfast served by Christy. She'll be at the McDonald's in Fargo off of 13th Avenue and 38th Street Southwest. Experts have a warning for you about antibiotics in food and say they pose a danger to kids. That's coming up.
Off to our south, we've got a lot of severe weather and quite a snowstorm in the southern Rockies for us as we head through the rest of the week. We'll see some rain and parts of the area will likely see some snow. All your forecast details coming up right after this.